Luke Harper and Sin Cara are just a couple of superstars to have been recently released by the WWE. Every year the company lets go of a fair amount of talent as a means of losing dead weight and allowing underutilized stars to take their talent elsewhere. So let's check out 10 wrestlers that got released this decade and where they are now. Just FYI, this list won't include obvious entries like Jon Moxley or Cody Rhodes. Big Cass's fall from grace is one of the most notable in the history of pro wrestling. After becoming one of the most entertaining acts alongside Enzo Amore on NXT, they translated that success into a strong run on the main roster. WWE saw him as a main event star and began grooming him for a strong singles run when everything went sideways. After he and Amore separated, Cass transitioned into a feud with Daniel Bryan. Despite the feud being underwhelming in its early days, the potential for a string of strong matches were clearly there, but that never happened because all of a sudden it was reported that Cass had been released. According to reports that surfaced over the next few days, Cass's drinking problem had rubbed a number of people backstage the wrong way, in addition to him disobeying direct orders from Vince McMahon. Cass was then seen working independent shows, where it seemed he had gained a ton of weight and was in a dark phase of his life. In an appearance at House of Hardcore 52, Cass had to be rushed to the hospital after suffering a seizure during the show's intermission. He eventually got his weight under control and returned to the ring once more, even making an appearance at the G1 Supercard. After spending some time quiet on social media, Cass made the news for all the wrong reasons once more, when he threatened to kill AEW's Joey Janela if he said one more word about Cass or his life. Cass has largely been working on the independent scene since his departure from WWE, but has made the habit of making headlines for all the wrong reasons. CJ Parker was a wrestler on NXT a few years ago and should not be mistaken for the role of Pamela Anderson on Baywatch. Anyways, back in 2011, Parker signed a developmental contract with FCW before making his NXT debut in July of 2012. After spending about a year as a jobber on the Black and Yellow brand, Parker debuted a new hippie environmentalist character that fans truly hated, which worked out well because he was a heel. He spent 3 years with the promotion trying to get the gimmick to work, but to no avail. WWE did not seem interested in pushing him up the card or repackaging him, so Parker chose to ask for his release from WWE in 2015. Soon after leaving the promotion, Parker debuted in New Japan under the name Juice Robinson. Since then, he has become a fixture in the promotion, winning the IWGP US title on 2 occasions and wrestling a number of marquee matches with the promotion. More recently, he has teamed up with David Finlay to win the World Tag Team League with the promotion. He has also gone on to lead a faction called Lifeblood. It'll be cool to see if Juice Robinson ever returns to WWE as a bigger star than he left, or if he's done with Vince's promotion for good. We should really thank our lucky stars that Vince McMahon didn't just go ahead and make James Ellsworth WWE Champion when he was feuding with AJ Styles. Stranger things have happened. After a feud against the Phenomenal One that overstayed its welcome, WWE wisely had Styles destroy him so he could be written off TV for a while. He eventually made his return though, aligning with Carmella and even helping her retain her SmackDown Women's title against Asuka. He started working for the company on a night-to-night contract before leaving the WWE for good in July of 2018. Since leaving, Ellsworth has been making appearances on the independent scene, wrestling for Destiny Worldwide Wrestling, and even challenging Nick Aldis for the NWA World Heavyweight title. In February last year, he declared himself the World Intergender Champion, even designing himself a title. He also made an appearance for Impact Wrestling at Bound for Glory, losing to Eli Drake. The Chinless Wonder has had quite the career over the last few years, but nothing will compare to his run at the top of WWE. Wade Barrett should have been a multi-time world champion in WWE, yet the promotion's inability to see just how good he was relegated him to largely meaningless storylines after the dissolution of the Nexus. Sure, he was a 5-time Intercontinental Champion, but that was still a massive step down for a man who could have easily main evented multiple WrestleManias. He never managed to recover after his run-in with John Cena, bouncing around from one pointless feud to the next, winning gold every now and then just to tide him over for a little while longer. After a couple of years in mid-card purgatory, WWE agreed to release him from his contract ahead of time, so that he could focus on his acting career. Being away from the industry for nearly a year, Barrett returned to pro wrestling as a commentator for 2 What Culture Pro Wrestling events. Around that time, he was employed by World of Sport as an authority figure, and was even brought in for the final season of Lucha Underground that suggested a run at the top of the promotion if that season was ever filmed. Barrett has spent the last few years dipping his toes into the wrestling pool since leaving WWE, although it seems to be only only a matter of time before he wrestles another match, especially considering his acting career has failed to take off. Alex Riley is an example of wasted potential. When he made his debut in the second season of NXT, he was immediately aligned with The Miz, who would have provided the young star with the necessary mentorship he would have needed to become a star on the main roster. Once he and Miz went their separate ways, it seemed like Riley was in line for a big push, even emerging as a serious contender to win the US title. Then he got injured, got relegated to some random appearances on Superstars before going on a 14-match losing streak in 2012. After a while, he became a color commentator on Raw before a short stint on NXT that ended up with him being released by the company in May of 2016. Fans of the Netflix show Glow would have noticed that Riley made a brief appearance there, but other than that, he didn't do much else. Back in May, Riley announced that he would be returning to pro wrestling. He's made a few appearances since then, but nothing that anyone has really cared about. Perhaps his biggest contribution to the pro wrestling scene has been accusing John Cena of sabotaging his career, a claim that was supported by Ryback. Legacy was intended to be a vehicle for megastars of the future in WWE. One of them ended up starting a rival wrestling promotion in the form of AEW, while the other decided he was better off trying his luck with executive positions in businesses like One Life and CollegeGarageSale.com. When Legacy went its separate ways, Dibiase turned face by taking out Cody Rhodes, and it seemed as if he would be getting a second lease on life. After his return as the $1 Million Champion pretty much failed, Dibiase Jr. himself stated that mimicking his father's gimmick did not really work. His face turn also did not help in saving his career, and he opted to not renew his contract in WWE, which ran out in September of 2013. DiBiase said he wanted to spend more time with his family, but then he made a few appearances on the independent scene that same year. Besides a couple of in-ring appearances in 2016 and 17, DiBiase Jr. is all for intents and purposes retired. He's traded his in-ring gear for a suit and seems to be pretty happy with a regular corporate job. The main roster destroyed Emma's chances in WWE. During her time on NXT, the Australian star was putting on fantastic matches at a time when people were just starting to notice women's wrestling. Her gimmick was pretty goofy, but when she got into the ring, she was one of the best the promotion had to offer. So naturally, WWE decided to pair her up with Santino Marella the moment she debuted on the main roster. After spending a while doing pretty much nothing of note, WWE decided to repackage her with the Emmalina gimmick, but according to reports, Vince McMahon scrapped it because he believed Emma wasn't attractive or sexy enough to pull it off. Nothing seemed to work out, and she was released from her contract on October 29th in 2017. After leaving WWE, Emma had a successful run in Ring of Honor and was a member of Juice Robinson's faction Lifeblood. In late July, Impact Wrestling announced that Emma, now wrestling under her real name Tenille Dashwood, had signed with the promotion. Most recently, she failed to defeat Taya Valkyrie for the Knockouts title at Bound for Glory. Chris Masters had a couple of pretty decent runs in WWE. Sure, he was no Shawn Michaels in the ring, but his Master Lock challenge was decently entertaining for what it was. Masters had the look that Vince McMahon would probably ask Santa for, but that was about it. His second run in WWE came to an end in 2011, after which he returned to the independent circuit, and that included a strong stint with Global Force Wrestling. His last meaningful contribution in the industry came back in 2017 when he returned to Impact Wrestling under the name Chris Adonis and spent most of his time as Eli Drake's manager. He left the promotion in January 2018, citing low pay and the fact that Impact Wrestling had no plans for him besides being Drake's manager. Adam Rose was another man doomed to failure the moment he made his main roster debut. The party gimmick was never going to work, but WWE's insistence on saddling him with it did no one any favors. After spending a few years doing nothing of note and just getting jobbed out to everyone, he asked to be released in 2016 after he was accused of domestic violence and tampering with evidence. When he left WWE, he went back to the independent scene and went through an insane physical transformation, which resulted in him almost doubling in size. Rose has retired from in-ring competition, with his retirement match taking place on the 14th of June for Atomic Revolutionary Wrestling. WWE tried to push Vladimir Kozlov as the next monster foreign heel. He feuded with pretty much every top star on SmackDown, including The Undertaker, but nothing seemed to work. When he failed as a heel, he was turned into a sideshow comedy act, which was essentially the beginning of the end. He was released by WWE in 2011, and after a brief run in Inoki Genome Federation, he retired from in-ring competition, instead choosing to focus on his work as an actor and stuntman. He appeared on a Season 7 episode of Burn Notice and was even a stuntman for The Rock in Fast and Furious 6 and in John Wick 2, with his most recent appearance being in the second season of the Punisher TV show on Netflix. And these were 10 wrestlers that got released this decade. I hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you later in the next video.